Welcome to Devlog number 5. So I worked on the mic audio quality a little bit. I'm using a Blue Yeti with DaVinci Resolve. So I'm trying to get rid of some of the artifacting in the audio so that it sounds better. I figured y'all would listen to it more if it sounded better. So we're going to get into just some art for one of the animations I wanted to do to telegraph the player is rolled, and then they have to wait. Each letter is basically going to change a color, and once it goes full black, you'll be able to roll again. Super straightforward. So I got into that, and then I did a few iterations of that. So I did those iterations over the lettering. I had a big problem with positioning of the words, so I made an overlay out of 64 by 32 pixels, I believe. It's just the layout that came with Brachy's assets pack. So I just did this layout. I made a pixel that showed the center of the frame, so the O should line up on that. And then I just transferred it over to each one, slowly lining everything up. And then after I did that, I went in, colored each letter red once I made sure it lined up perfectly in the game. And as you can see, now I'm laying out the lettering and making sure they're red to match when you can and can't roll. Yeah, I'll let the rest of the clip play out, and then I will add some music over it. So now that the art is done, I'm just changing up a little bit of my logic with the roll. Instead of having a timer that's activated and I'm waiting on the timeout, or I'm awaiting the timeout, I'm going to do it based off of the awaiting the animation to finish. So as you see here, it's just going to switch between the two animations. If it can roll, if you can roll, it'll play yes roll, and if you can't, it'll play no roll. And then once it awaits the no roll, it sets can roll to yes again. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. All right, to introduce this next part, I'm going to be working on adding a boss into the video game. Now what this boss is going to do, it's just a simple boss. It jumps, it tries to jump on you. It's been a real pain trying to implement it properly. I'm probably going to speed over most of this. What I ended up doing was doing a physics body 2D, character body 2D with move and slide on it, so I can have gravity. Most of the stuff that AI and things will recommend to you are 3.0, not 4.0 compatible. So don't follow any of the vectoring or the the velocity or anything that's going to tell you. So in doing this, I've learned use the area 2D. It can detect bodies entered. Your player is a body. So I already have implemented that one before. With the jumping and velocity, nobody's really made a good equation on how to calculate the arcing with the gravity or the Godot physics engine. So I'm still working on that. I think I'm just going to have to change variables back and forth until it works out. But so far, so good. Finalization of this is pretty spot on. It works pretty well. If you have any questions about it, anything you see, just leave it in the comments. I'm just going to let this play until something else interesting comes up. Oh, and don't forget about your z-axis indexing for your 2D game, because things still have to lay over other things. You know, that was the whole problem I was having with this, is the slime's z-axis was 0 and the tile set background was 1, I believe. Starting out with just the jumping script on the boss, and then I added in the Devworm's enemy follow script to add in some dynamic following. So it's not just jumping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So that way it has a little bit more to the boss. After adding in the Devworm's following script, I removed the y-axis following, so now it can only follow on the x-axis, since it is a 2D platformer. Then I add in the move and slide, since it is a character body 2D, and I can then give it gravity, so it'll bring it down to the floor if it is not on floor, letting it fall to the ground after a jump, or I can start it a few pixels above the ground and it'll work. Here I'm just trying to add in some jump logic. So I wanted to jump after it is X amount of pixels away from the player's X, the center of the character body. But the problem is when you grab the position.x, it gives you a long number. So what I ended up doing was converting that to an int. So it only grabs the first number. And then you can compare the two much easier. So now with the x coordinate detection working, when they line up, the slime will then jump. It had this weird issue where once it jumps x distance away, it'll like keep that buffer from the player. And sometimes it worked, sometimes didn't with the X lining up. Sometimes it would just be a pixel off. So then what I converted it to was a range. So if the player X was greater than the the slime X was greater than player X plus 50 or less than, it would then jump, so that the slime would do it before it reached the character, if that makes sense. In doing that, it fixed a little bit of the issue. It still had the issue where it would jump away a certain distance and it would never come back in far enough to jump again. But I ended up fixing that at a later date with actually, instead of doing position X, you do velocity X to change the position of the slime. I don't know why that fixes it, but that's what some people were recommending on, I think it was Stack Overflow or Reddit. Can't really remember. So this is what I ended up with for the boss character of level 1. I scaled them up by 2 times. I added in the jumping within a certain distance. I added in a timer for when it can jump. I'm still gonna have it to where you need to roll into the boss to damage it. It just makes sense, so that's how all the other characters work. So I scaled him up by 2 times, just to give him a little bit more room to damage. One of the issues I ran into was I didn't check if the player was null before I ran the physics process function. So I added in a check, and if it did return null, it would just return out of the function. And if it didn't, it would continue. So far, I'm really enjoying how it plays. Uh, Next, we'll be making it into a GH pages or put it on some website for y'all to try, so y'all can let me know how it plays. Next, I need to fix the velocity of the player when you're going right or left. It tends to, if you roll while holding down the right or left, it will not add on to your velocity. It will just play the animation. So I need to add that in next so it plays a little bit smoother. But I like the rolling timer that tells you when you can roll. I like the timer for the slime. I think I'm going to bump it up. Right now it's at 1.5 seconds. I'll probably bump it up to 2 seconds. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. And I may bump the speed of the slime up a little bit to make it a little bit harder. But other than that, yeah. Thanks for watching. If you have any problems or questions with your games or anything going on, please leave it in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you want. I'll leave a link to the DevWorm video in the description, and I'll put a card for when I talk about it. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.